Okay, this third section, we're going to create a scheduled Azure Boards status email using Azure Logic Apps. So in other words, I want an email delivered to my inbox every day that tells me something that I need to know out of Azure DevOps. So the first thing we need to do is go into Azure DevOps and let's make some changes. I'm going to create a query. Actually, I'm just going to edit a query that I've already made earlier. So if I go into queries, I'm going to choose the work items assigned to me query, and I'm going to add a new column here. If you notice, the columns that are in here, they don't include the assigned to. So I'll just add that. And then I'll drag this all the way up to the top so that it's the second thing in our list here. Now we can see the assigned to, so it'll show up in our query. And we'll see it in our query results. Now I need to save that. We'll go to Save Query. And now we're ready to move on to the Logic App part. So we'll go back into Azure Portal. I'm going to go back to my no-code demo project in the overview screen here. And if I go into the same resource group that we're using, so no-code demo project, I can see everything that we've created so far, which is just one existing Logic app and one other thing that gets created along. It's an API connection. But from here, we're going to create, and just like before, a Logic app. It's already set up to go into the no-code demo project. We're going to give this a name. This is a workflow, consumption, zone redundancy, review and create, and then create. Okay, we're all set here. Now we can go to our resource. And what we want to do now is figure out how we want to trigger this thing. Well, I want it to go, like I said, on a schedule. I want it to happen every morning, so to speak. So I'm going to come down here and look for this option that says Recurrence. And I'm going to change this from every 3 minutes to just every 1 day. Now, if I wanted to, under the new parameters, I could specify exactly what time I want this to happen, but once a day is good for me for now. We'll hit save. And then in our next step, we're going to go into Azure DevOps and we're going to get the query results. But which query, you say? Well, let's take a look. First of all, let's connect to our organization and the project that we're using. Now we need the query ID. Well, in order to get the query ID, I need to go look at the query. So let's go back into our queries. And we're going to get this work items assigned to me. So we'll open this up. Now, if I go to the URL and go all the way to the end, you'll see that there's a GUID here that I can copy and then return back to my Logic app and paste into the query ID. That's all it is. It's just the GUID that you see in the URL for that query. So we're going to get to the query results. Let's give this a different name. All right, now that we've got our query results, we got to do something with it. So we're going to put those results into a variable, much like we did previously. So we'll go new step here in variable, initialize variable, and we're going to call this just query results. And we're going to make it a string. A string is just someplace that you can put text. And I'm going to go ahead and change the name here as well. Go ahead and rename this to something that reflects the query results. Next step, we'll do control for each. Click in this field, and then over here you'll just select the only option is value. What we want to do is actually append the data. So we'll go to variables and then append to string variable. Our string variable is the query results. And I'm going to be copying over something. I've got something in my notes here, so I'm just going to copy and paste this into our value here. You'll see I'm going to just put in some HTML that actually allows us to go straight to that work item if we click on it. Now there's one thing I got to change here. In my URL, it says change me. What that needs to be changed to is if I go back into my Azure DevOps instance and just go all the way to the very beginning of the URL, we can kind of look through here. Mine's called the No Code Demo project, or No Code Demo. So I need to copy this and add that back into my URL here. Then at the end here, after it says edit, I need to add something else, something from the dynamic side of things. So let's type in ID, because that's what I want to put, is ID. And then here inside my hyperlink text, where you'll actually see the text to click on it, what I want that to display is title. So we'll type title. If we look here, we'll see titles in there. And I think I also want to include something else like state. So we'll come over here and look for state. And even though I know they're all assigned to me, I'm also going to add assigned to, because that should be coming over in the query. All right. And let's give this a little better name. Save that. And then there's only one more thing to do, and that's to go out here and add a new step. And we talked about sending an email. I'm going to use Outlook. There are other email providers you could choose from. We're going to use Office Outlook 365. And then if I search inside here, we're going to use the Send an Email v2. Again, you can use a different email service provider. We'll sign in here. This is a very simple step. I'm going to put in where I want that to go. We'll say this is our DevOps boards summary email daily. And in the body of the email, what I want to include is our query results. So come over here into the dynamic, type in query, sort of. And then we'll hit save. Now there's one other thing I forgot to mention. Anytime we've got a for loop, we need to come over into the settings of that for loop and change this so the concurrency is set to on and the degree of parallelism is set to 1. And that's it. Now, I can actually trigger this to test it out just from right in here. So we'll hit run. And here you can see our email. We got the title, we've got the state, and we've got who's it signed to. And if we click on it, it takes us straight to the work item. So that's pretty much it. That covers our third step here, where we're going to create a scheduled Azure Boards status email using Azure Logic Apps.